All right, I've taken permission from the client to share some of the thoughts that I'm going to share in this video. So feel free to chime in your thoughts and let me know what do you think. Okay, a little bit of a backstory without giving the identity of the client. Yeah, people book my services. Okay, they go to my website, they pay the money, they book a service, they want to have a video call. I generally prefer to see the person who I'm speaking to, unless, of course, it is a cryptocurrency investor who is a multimillionaire and wants to remain anonymous. Then those are different. Or some people may have their personal private reasons, but majority of the cases, people speak to me via video. So I was kind of surprised when I saw this girl. She was pretty young, and she had actually booked a session, paid the amount of money. She had paid money through her friend's account because obviously she was kind of young. I don't think she has these facilities. Okay. So she asked me quite a number of questions. She had literally a list of questions to ask from career, love, marriage, relationships, friendships, migration. I think she literally what I suspected was, I even told her this. Did you sit down with all your friends and tell them, listen, all of you, give me all your questions and we can ask this guy. So she laughed, although she didn't admit. I kind of felt that she was asking doubts from many of her friends also. Okay, it's completely fine. I don't mind it. But then she asked me, she went to asking me these tough questions, and she said, um, I'm going to ask you, very private, personal questions. Please, don't share with anyone. I let her know that I would share the lessons with other people, but I would not share an identity. So that is where she's comfortable. The questions were obviously about sex, obviously about, um, stuff that you cannot talk to your mother and father. And but what surprised me was this girl who should be having this conversation with her mother and father. She could not. She was asking me, and the questions were like, "What do you think of a one night stands? Is it okay for girls to have one night stands? Is it okay for a girl to cheat on her boyfriend? My boyfriend sometimes he stares at other girls, and I know that he might be sleeping around. Is it okay for me to sleep around?" So she's asking me these questions. Is it okay? So I told her, what, it's very simple common sense. I told her, can you show this publicly, what you're doing? Can you do it publicly? She said no. Obviously the reason you don't want to and you can't show it publicly is because you're doing something wrong. When you're doing something wrong, you have to do it hidden. If you're doing something right, you're not afraid. Like, for example, if you're stealing, that is wrong. But if you're going to take something and pay money, there's nothing to hide. So then she went on the tangent that, oh, our Indian society is very narrow minded, our Indian thinking is very backward. So this is where things got pretty interesting. So I asked her, what do you mean by backward? What do you mean by, elaborate? I'm not arguing with you. What do you mean by backward? So she said, yeah, in the West, you can have a boyfriend and girls can go out and drink and the society will not say anything. But here, if a girl goes out with a guy, they will gossip. So you see where I'm getting at. The problem here is in the quest to be modern, so called, to call yourself modern or to call yourself evolved, does that mean we cherry pick the promiscuous lifestyle of smoking, drinking, drugs, having sex with multiple people, and this, if you do this and this is acceptable, then this is modern? And when you're talking to youngsters, you have to get ready for them. They will try to act smart with you to justify what they want. And I perfectly, I've been doing this for years. So then she went on, but you did it. She was telling me, but you had sex with girls one night stand. You cheated on your partners. So I told her, so just because I did something wrong, I did smoking, drinking, or whatever, or I was sleeping around with multiple partners, because I did these things, does that mean it is okay for you to do things? You're a girl. I never got pregnant. So she went, so what? So I told her, this is what I actually told her. See, I told her, see, my dear, I'm not here to argue with you. Okay. You have paid me money for me to be a guide, mentor, coach, whatever, like a father figure for you. I will only tell you what I believe is right and wrong. You choose. And I made it very clear to her that what I did in my past as a 20-year-old, I had no father figure, no mother's guidance, no family, no friends, no mentor, no internet, no Google, no nothing. And I was earning and I was thrown into this world of freedom where I could do whatever I want. Okay. Now, just because I had sex, for example, I had sex with multiple women, doesn't make it okay for you to copy this. Now, for example, let's say I had sex with, obviously, I had a high body count, 300, 400, whatever. Okay, lost count at some point. So just because I slept with 200, 300 women, does that make it okay for you to sleep with 200, 300 men? And if you say yes, let's say, for example, you say yes, and you slept with guy number one, your first guy, and you ended up with an STD, you ended up with AIDS, you ended up with syphilis or, herpes or some disease that was never, that you is uncurable. Okay. You had sex with only one guy and it turned out to be an uncurable disease. So who are you going to blame? Are you going to say, this is not fair? You had sex with 300 girls and you're still without an STD. I had sex with them. No, your life is different from mine. And if suppose tomorrow you get pregnant, you can't say, hey, this is not fair. Yeah, what? You slept with so many girls and none of them got pregnant and I got sex, I got pregnant. No, your life is not going to be my life. Your body is not my body. Your upbringing is not my upbringing. You can cherry pick and choose to live my life of the mistakes I've made, but you'll pay a price. And I told her this, for everything that I did, I paid a price. For everything I did, there was a price to pay. Whether it was wasted time, wasted opportunities, money. And I told her, see, remember, I was staying in Dubai and I was doing it at a very low profile. There was no social media to name and shame people. You're living in whichever country you're living in, don't want to mention it. And there is social media, there is naming and shaming. What if you get exposed? Okay. And let's assume, okay, I was never close to my parents. My father was an animal. My mother was, she didn't give a damn. But in your case, maybe your father, mother, they are nice people. But what if your father gets a heart attack? What if your father gets a stroke? He gets shocked with the news, he gets a stroke, or your mother gets into a depression and tries to hurt herself. Will you forgive yourself for this? And then finally, I told her, okay, I did whatever I had to. And I was unemployed for years and years because people didn't want to associate with a guy who was sleeping around. But because I had the gift of the gab, the ability to sell myself, bullshit, or whatever, as to always keep getting jobs, odd jobs. You don't have my skill. You don't have the ability to sell yourself. You don't have the ability to bullshit. And if nobody gives you a job, what will you do? And just imagine you slept with a guy and he names and shames you publicly, he puts it online, or a secret video or a secret photograph. What is going to happen next? What will your mother, father do? What will your relatives do? It is like, my landlord who is 90 years old. He smokes, he drinks, he puts tobacco, in the mouth or whatever. But he's perfectly okay. Like he can, he being in his 90s, he's 94 or 92 or something. He can climb up a tree. Yeah? He gets up every day, 5 in the morning. Full day he works. Now, just because he smokes, drinks, does that tobacco thing, and he's 90 plus, does that mean, oh, okay, then I can also smoke, drink, and put tobacco and I'll not get anything? Well, let me give you a shocker. He's 90 years old. His health is perfect. Do you know that his only son, who is in his 60s, is dead? And he died because of smoking, drinking, and tobacco. And I have uploaded the video of his cremation. He was, they put fire. The father had to literally, after he died, he used to vomit blood and cough blood and all that. He suffered very badly for the last 5 years of his life, very badly. And the father had to, after he died, his father had to remove the clothes of his corpse. He had to, change his clothes, clean him. Imagine the heartbreak the father had to go through, his only son, and cremate him. So now tell me, the father was smoking, drinking, and doing, tobacco. Nothing happened to him. But his son, did the same and he died. Life is not fair, right? You'll say, oh, this is not fair. He enjoyed, but he didn't pay the price. He enjoyed it, but he paid the price. See, we are not the same. Our bodies are not the same. Our lives are not the same. Our thought process, our DNA, there are so many factors. And it's sad that today our young Indians, they're literally talking about one night stands. They're talking about cheating on their partners. They're normalizing this behavior. And for a youngster to look at me and say, oh, okay, you were sleeping around, you had extramarital affairs, so you did it, I can also do it. My dear, I paid a price for it, and literally to the point where I had to almost kill myself. Are you prepared to go through that? Are you prepared to go through maybe 10 years of living hand to mouth? Are you prepared? Are you prepared to suffer? Because you want to enjoy, yes. You will have to also pay the price for it. Everything has a price. And if you're a girl and you get pregnant and you can't, let's say, even abortion impacts your body, even taking birth control pills impacts your health very badly. And if you're living in a conservative society, your name and your reputation, once it gets destroyed, once you're named, they call you slut or sleeping around, which decent family would want to get, want to have an arranged marriage? You'll say, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, when you're young, you say, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, fine. See, our Indian values, no? I'm not saying Americans don't have values, but our traditional Indian values of decency, of um, obedience, of honoring the mother and father, of, following religious teachings, there is a certain degree of merit in it. Even, for example, I'm a school dropout. Okay, fine. That doesn't mean if you drop out of school, you'll experience success. My dear, maybe your life will be utterly destroyed. Why do you think I keep telling people, please go get your PhD if possible? If your parents are paying money, complete your degree, master's, your PhD, go study in an Ivy League. And if you can't afford an Ivy League, go for the best education. Don't cherry pick the mistakes that I did and justify it. You don't know half the stories of suffering, of blood, sweat, and tears. It's not very romantic, so I don't share it. I've eaten from the dustbin of a steakhouse They throw fresh food. I has to eat from there. I has to collect the food. Are you prepared to eat from the dustbin to survive? Are you ready to beg? Beg. I lived days and nights where I was sleeping on the streets. Are you prepared for that kind of suffering? You don't want to suffer. You want to have a good life. It doesn't work that way. And I'll tell you this, don't see, just because one guy is speeding on the road doesn't mean if you also start speeding, you'll not meet with an accident. And if you do meet with the accident, maybe you lose your leg, your hand, maybe your face will be smashed. I have met a female who's so beautiful. Her face was smashed, her skull was smashed, and now she has a like a Frankenstein kind of half broken face, and she doesn't have any boyfriend, doesn't have girlfriend. She is depressed. She was working in the airlines before, and she thought just because others are racing and having fun with their bikes and all that, she can do the same. Tell me, do you want such a life? Be afraid. I'm telling you, be very afraid of your actions. I I spoke to this girl and I told her, see, listen, when I was young, no responsibility, no care, immature, did not see life. I thought I was invincible, did steroids, did, sleeping around, didn't study, didn't take work seriously, was never focused. I paid the price for it. Today, why have I changed? Why before I used to sleep around? Why I say now don't? Yeah, because I have a wife. I have a small 6-year-old girl. Just imagine if I'm going to preach and tell you, yeah, it's okay to sleep around. Open your legs for any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Shouldn't I be giving the same advice to my daughter? Or should I tell my daughter, no, 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 you be decent. Other girls, let them be sluts. No, I need to show integrity. Yeah. I can't give you advice on being a good person and not sleep around. And I secretly go and sleep around. Being modern doesn't mean cherry picking the most promiscuous habits, traits, sinful, acts of another society, another culture, and justifying it as being modern. It's like you're taking the worst things just because they give you pleasure to justify, oh, I'm modern. If Americans are sleeping around, for example, I'm not saying all the Americans, if okay, girls can smoke, drink, go to bars and wear skimpy outfits and show their body parts and have an orgy and do drugs and all that. So if you do that, you're modern. Yeah, it's. I told her this is not acceptable. Anyway, I told her very seriously. Hey, and when this happened, I'm not going to get into too many details. When she was laughing and when she was smirking and she was wearing this outfit, which was anyway, uh, which I did point to her, and she was laughing when I was here. I said, "Listen, I want to be very clear. I'm not having an entertainment session with you. This is strictly me. I'm elder to you. I'm old enough to be your father. If you cannot talk and interact with respect, we end this call." And then she realized I was not fucking around. I was not playing around. And when she was trying, she was trying to act pale. Hey, Loy, listen, man. I said, you'll call me with respect. I'm old enough to be your father. Okay? You'll behave and talk to me with respect. And then she realized, oh, okay, sorry. And I told her, I look at you as my daughter. I look at you as a child. And I'm saying this sincerely out of love. Okay? So this is not a, what do you call that, kinky conversation. And just because I have tattoos, just because I was a playboy, you must have assumed that you can talk to me about, all this adult stuff and I'm going to be very cool and say, wow. I had to put her in a place. I had to draw the boundaries. And I told her, behave yourself. Okay? We'll make that clear. And we went on. And I told her, I will be making this video. I will not share your personal details. That's for a fact, client confidentiality. And I told her, if you're really serious about your life, if you're really serious, we will have another session for which I will not charge you. We'll have another session. But I gave her a list of homework, kind of things to do to clean up her life. Because the company of friends she was hanging out with, the guys, I told her, my dear, I have students who have got an uncurable disease, a sexually transmitted disease, and it has destroyed their life. And the sad thing is, it was their first partner, just first partner, and they ended up with it. And now they can't find a boyfriend, they can't find a girlfriend, they can't even get married. Because you have to declare, no, that you have this STD. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you, boys and girls out there. And please, if you are booking a session with me and you are young, just keep in mind that, you know, you're asking someone who's old enough to be your father, uh, at least in age. Keep the respect. I'm not interested in your money. If you think you can just, book my service and start acting all pally, you can take your money and shove it up your ass. Yeah. You're not doing me a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. And finally, I told her, you have a loving mother and father. Don't don't hurt them. Don't lose them. And don't destroy your life. You're a talented, nice, smart girl. Please don't do this. Whatever she was doing. Anyway, I wanted to share this message with you guys. Please, to all the Indian boys and girls, young men and women, my message to you is simple. Being westernized doesn't mean being promiscuous. Being modern doesn't mean you sleep around, open your legs to everyone and smoke and drink. And no, there are a lot of Americans, a lot of Westerners who put their head down, who are focused, who study, who achieve greatness. Don't go with this cheap, dirty crowd. Keep your values intact. Make your family proud of you. If nothing else, make yourself proud of you. That's all I can say. Rest is your life. You want, you can sleep around, smoke, drink, do whatever you want. But remember, you will pay the price for it. Okay? Anyway, good, bad, ugly, feel free. Comment down below. This is me signing off.